Okay. Do you want to start?
All right. So, pre-market, we're looking negative for me slightly. And then for today, things look positive, especially the NASDAQ, and I guess I can testify to that. NASDAQ and S&P, almost 2% for the S&P, close to 2% for the NASDAQ, and just 1.25 for the Dow Jones. VIX 15.66, so not as volatile, but it's still up there. And then Sam Bankman-Fried found guilty on all 7 criminal fraud counts. I guess,
Dun, dun, dun.
but I don't think that really means anything. All right, so let's see. We're looking at
Isn't it my turn?
the positivos.
Me, Mrs. Green, don't you want me to go?
No, that's where I'm going. You'll be going when, I'll explain later, but I usually Mondays, Sundays, when I'm watching the game or something, you go. So that's why I try to cover for Tuesday, Wednesday, and most Thursdays if we meet early, which we're kind of doing.
Nine.
All right. PLTR. I think you trade this sometimes. I don't really trade it. I've traded it before.
I've only traded it once, and it was today for 2 seconds.
Oh, that was the only time you traded. Okay, then. While you get your feet wet.
Beyond meaty, that's definitely gonna be in the notas.
So, this thing went up. I guess it had earnings or something like that. It jumped in the pre-market, and then it just maintained itself. It really didn't do anything, I don't think, personally. So it shows up as nearly 20%, but that was because of the gap up. So if you held it overnight, you made money. If you did it, you didn't make money. Beyond me, we don't look at Dash. We'll look at that because you've dealt with that before. It seems like that's a gap up. Another play that is a gap up. It probably did this have earnings? Yeah, it had earnings. It's still losing money, but not as much as people thought. And it gapped up because of that. But it will come back down. Did what you call it have earnings? Yep, it had earnings. And it beat its earnings, so that's why it gapped up, which is sad that it didn't continue. Even though it beat its earnings, you would have thought it might have done a little bit better, but it didn't. What's this? Car? What's the oh, Caro. Not sure. This got 14%.
Avis.
Yes, Avis. So it had earnings, of course, and revenue is less, but it's still earning like crazy. We used to be really big on this, and we had it for a while, and we got out, and we haven't got back in. I remember our 3 mountains, and it did come down. So maybe now it's going back up, Elisa, the mountain. So maybe it's worth getting back in, even though it's trending down. It looks like the 3 mountains just could be coming back, But I remember when we were trying to wait till it came down to get out, and it took some time, but it did get out. I don't know if you remember that one. Rivian, 8%. It finally, it did a little bit of a gap, but it did a real climb. It went up, went down, went up with the. This is probably the one we should have been messing with today. This was a good trend to follow, and it moved in the pre-market also. We have been playing around with this the past few days too, and having some success. Not all, but some. And now it it did a jump up, which it had been solidifying itself at that. I don't want to say 16 level, but it basically is solidified itself all day yesterday at 16. It was kind of like all over the place. It got to this 15 whatever, but then it still came back up, and then it got to 16 again, and it kind of stayed there into post pre-market and yesterday. So if we had been paying attention, would have been a good sign to get into this because it was showing some strength at that area. All of this, who cares? We don't trade in this. This is my third page. So Netflix we'll look at only because it's a good stock. I have orders for this. Oh yeah, because I have it. So yeah, so this has gone up against me, my 65 shares, and I need to be able to get out and don't know how to get out of it. It had been coming down. It had did this big gap up, and then since then it's just been off the deep end. So I'm waiting for it to come back down to earth. If I can get it to come back. Yeah, so that was it. Everything was really strong on that page. So let's go back to my normal page. Roku, 30%. We don't trade this. And that's just that. So we just don't. It had come down so
Can you look at the earnings?
It had come down so crazily that it's kind of like, why would you trade it? And earnings, this red here have been some misses. It's recent earnings, so come on. It's recent earnings. I hate when this happens.
I think it's gonna go down. It's losing mad money. How could you do worse on the freaking earnings and it skyrocketed up to the sky? Oh my God, that thing is going down.
People said it did that only because it had gone from Netflix area 500 all the way down to like freaking $50. So they were just like, I'm not saying that's a good reason why for it to come up. It's not a reason at all, and it doesn't make any sense. And I do think this will come down. Uh, yeah, I do think it will come down. I would say see how high it can get. I don't think it will get here, but just put this on short watch.
I have it already. I already have it because it's ridiculous. What's the average volume on this?
Well, let's see. Today it was over 40 million. Average, I'm not sure what the average is.
Let me investigate this while you,
Yeah.
because if it was exaggerated, that the thing is that issue is gonna go down.
Well, just based off of this, when it had this gap up, this was like 50 million. This one's like you said 40. Normally, it seems like it's about 25. So people do trade it. Yeah. So Roku, I really don't want to look at this. 574. What's the high today? Yeah. That's all I can say. Um, that's all I can say about pizza. And I will say I'm out of it. Open, got down to 190. Came back up.
Average volume is 6 million, and it was 40 million today. Please, that ish is gonna go down.
Put in a notice.
I did.
What's
the price of Roku at the moment? $77.57. Okay.
Open. It's, I don't know, all over the place. It's still a good short, and I would still say, hey, short it. Yeah, I would definitely say short it. Sorry, I want to turn something on. But yeah, we had talked about getting into this. If it does any type of bump up, I would recommend that people get into it. To short, obviously, and because winter's coming, and I think it would be a good deal. Tesla, it went up after being negative for a while. It had hit rock bottom here under 200, and then it's slowly been coming up. So today was the payday, and that kind of makes sense. So it's kind of like if you stick to one thing, then you can probably make money from it. And I think that was our issue, is that we didn't stick to we didn't stick to one thing. I dabbled, I think, one day in and then I dabbled into Rivian for a few days, but I didn't stick to it. And I think if I had stuck to it, I would have made more money because I would have saw the history more. Some of those people who say they stick to one stock and that's how they make their money on, I'm starting to think that's a smarter idea, to be honest with you. Or maybe if it's not one stock, maybe it's a list of 5 stocks that you just trade. So we have Banco. It's up the yin yang. It's gotten past a $25 mark. So if people like it, do what you do. I don't know why. I just don't like the banks in the winter, but who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. This had earnings. Apparently, it was good. It has started coming up. So it's just barely losing money, just barely. But I was hoping that this would come up and I would get out. Of course, it didn't. It got close to me breaking even, but it didn't, and then it started going down. I'm hoping tomorrow it will be positivo so I can get 18. Nikete,
18 means
Cafe, it was up 4%.
Dang.
And it just had a good day today. It's still staying above that $100 mark. So yesterday it touched it. So yesterday they guess was the day to get in. But yeah, it's staying above that. Nike, also a freaking 4% day, and it seems that it did very good. Yeah. Let's see, yeah. When did it make its money? So let's see this thing. Oh, it did a gap. That's why. Yeah. So it didn't really do anything. It closed here, and then at like 11, and then did some type of gap immediately. So I guess if you had it here, you would have made money. You would have made some money, 30 cents. But then it just went down. But then you had to wait for it to get back to close and then make the money. So it's very weird, very weird. I think these stocks do these things just to get people out of it. Because normally it would have stayed here, then came up. So, yeah. 1067, Elisa. We hit this 1067 mark. So it's not close, but it's, I guess we could still wait. Macy's, now it's doing its high pollutant, as they would call it. Macy's thinks it's great. It's hitting 1253 compared to what it was. Curve starting to turn. I don't know if this red line, the 50-day moving average, it seems like it's flattened out. So this could be a good sign. This could be a possible buy. May want to put in an also, Lisa. It seems like it's recovered. We have a gap that it could be filling right here. So at least making it up to 14 and 3/4. So maybe, if you like retail, you like the holidays, maybe you want to get in this for the holidays. It's been doing pretty good. So Macy's, we're looking Macy's at like maybe a $12 price, around the $12 price. XOM, this was up 3%. This went nicely, and you could have gotten it right at the open. That's the thing I like about at least oil. You can get it. It doesn't do a lot of crazy moves in the aftermarket. This was a nice, very nice candle. You're looking at a solid $4 here. I can't complain about that. Disney, it's still on low levels. We need to go up. Dix, we're not recommending this stock right now. So, and we've explained why before. Dollar Tree, it had a nice day, over 2%. You could have got in and watched it move up. So it was good, just like the market. Ford had an over 2% day. Even the infamous American Airlines, I don't know how that was allowed to happen. Yeah, I don't know how it's allowed to happen. But it's basically nothing to look at for this thing. But whatever. Mickey D's, I got out of this. It had a solid day. Could have got much more money, but hey, I just got in the pre-market because it screwed me the other day. But should have waited. Got a few more dollars. I only had 25 shares. I was playing with it. If I can get a chance to get it again, maybe around this 260, 261 price, I probably will. Tarche was up 1 2/4. It looked like it did well today. Campbell's. Yes, this thing surprised me. I did not think it would do as good, especially with tech doing good. I just didn't think that. So, and it did. And so I had to take a loss on it. I had averaged it, and it kept going, and it didn't come back down. BA also good. Well, decent, whatever. I think this is still weak. Obviously, wasn't as strong as the rest of the market. So yeah, if you like to short it, then maybe you wanna get in it on an up day. But I just don't feel good about this yet. If it does come up, it's gonna come up because of the airlines. Home Depot, it's moving up slowly, but I'm really not into it yet. I'd rather wait till it drops, maybe after the holidays and stuff. Google, 1%. It just kind of just diddled in the middle here. It didn't do anything really fantastic. And it's kind of been, yeah, it's not bad. It's moving. It gapped down a little bit, but it's coming back up. Softy, it's still doing very well. It's done. Yeah, it's done well. Let's see if it can get up here to this 360. Yeah, I'm really surprised at this. Well, so when was this? November? Da, 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 da. Yeah, so are we thinking the new year this is gonna tank like it did last year? Time will tell. Dollar General, we're not into that. Amazon, doesn't surprise me here. This may be coming down a little bit. Let's see if it makes it up here, but yeah, it could be coming down soon. Let's see if we can get through the holidays and then go from there. GE, Walmart only 12%, but Walmart's been really high. This is on watch, people, for a possible short. Not at this next earnings in a few days or a few weeks, but the earnings after that, after the holidays. Meta was negativo. It's still above 300, so I can't say anything about it. AMD, I had a time with this today. I think we all did. I just kind of I don't know. I just had a crazy time. Let me take this off just to clean it up. But I was in and out of this, and this really didn't do anything. Like, even at the end of the day, it didn't even come back down. So I don't know if it's done or what, but it had gapped up after its earnings were good, and then, well, relatively good, and then it just settled there. And of all things today, you would have thought that here it would have been some movement where everything else was good and intact, but it just didn't happen. So Apple, same thing. It was, even though I heard it had a good earnings today. Yeah, it beat earnings. They are selling, what do you call those things? iPhone 15s. But it just didn't, it wasn't positive, even though the market was positive. So the number one rated company, you know, did not move the market. Everything else moved it. So it was just one of those things that, yeah, I don't know what happened. And then when earnings hit, it slammed down. So I'm hoping that this will come up. That's what I'm hoping. I had bought 100 shares after the market closed just to get it, to see if it would come up, because I was thinking it would, and it didn't. So that's why people say don't buy on earnings. That's all I have right now. I wanted to show this thing. Can we see this? Okay. So key points. I don't care about this, but I'm just gonna read the key points because this is kind of like, I guess, a big story. Sam, I'm gonna call him FBF. Okay. FBF found guilty on all 7 criminal fraud counts. Key points: the month-long trial of FBF wrapped up on Thursday, leaving the jury to decide the fate of the FTX founder. SBF pleaded not guilty to criminal fraud charges tied to the collapse late last year, that's supposed to be, of crypto exchange FTX and sister hedge fund Alameda Research. The prosecution's key witnesses were former members of SBF's inner circle. So that's him looking cray-cray. And found him guilty of all 7 charges, and he faces a maximum of 115 years. And that's how it goes. And
folks, that should teach you a lesson. Don't fraud and steal people's money. You know?
Yeah, but trust me, his parents probably got all his money now, or whoever. I don't think he was married, and they'll live comfortably for the rest of their lives. If he has any children, they will also, because yeah, his ex-girlfriend even testified against him and all of that stuff. So
I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything. That was his defense.
No commentary. And here's a few articles that I'm going to let you guys listen to. And I'm going to stop sharing. Then I'm going to share again. And then I will share sound and all of that fun stuff so that you guys can actually hear and see. And then we'll just play these articles until it's time to go, as they say. Ms. Munoz, before we play, do you have any comments or anything you want to add? Anything you may have wanted to review or something like that?
I was gonna look at the article, the Apple article in writing, but since you found a video article, I will just let you handle the video article.
All right.
Into these numbers, what we know so far with Evercore ISI Senior Managing Director Amit Daryanani. He's got a $210 price, and big technology founder Alex Kantrowitz joins us as well. Amit, first to you. Slight beat on revenue. Really, the bottom line is what's shining here. Is that good enough?
You know what? This may depend on what they say about the December quarter guide and what iPhone demand does in December, right? But so far, what I'd say, this looks pretty good, right? Services, it looks like there's a pretty healthy acceleration they're seeing to mid-teens revenue growth. I would also point out that some of the FX headwind, we think about 200 basis points, could be because of FX for them. So perhaps the beat is a lot better on a constant currency basis that they will flush out on the call. But so far, so good. iPhone demand into December, the expectations are going to be key to watch for.
Alex, are there any softer areas outside of the product numbers that you think are particularly important here? Trying to look through the geographies, for example.
Well, look, I think that the fact that they beat on services is huge for them. Now, of course, we're looking at, talk about softness, 4 straight quarters of revenue decline. That's not even growth decline, that's decline. And you need something to make up for that. So you look at services, right, which is basically if your stock is going to be up 41% on the year and you're going to have 4 straight quarters of revenue decline, you need something to make up for it. It looks like they're coming in very nicely on services. And of course, you know, like my counterpart said up here, I'm going to wait for the guidance and the call to really, you know, put my finger down on what we can expect regionally.
Everyone's talking about AI. But how can it help your business? Can it make chatbots act like your very own personal assistant?
Article, Alicia?
Yes. Put AI to work with ServiceNow.
Not only does Apple report results on Thursday, but it also has an event planned for Monday evening. Steve Kovac is joining.
I just wanted to know what's that. I was curious to know if that was the finish of that article.
I think so.
When we challenged ourselves to create the world's most emotional and sustainable
was indicating as to why the numbers, why it went down. Did you want me to just read you the key points?
Do you want to go through that? Then you can go through that. I'll stop sharing.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that. Apple stocks dips after weak outlook for December quarter revenue. Apple reported fiscal fourth quarter earnings on Thursday that beat analysts' expectations for sales and earnings per share, but revealed that overall sales fell for the fourth quarter in a row. So I think this is why, and along the lines that it has been very negative, I think this is what even broke the camel's back. Apple shares fell in extended trading after executives suggested the company may not return to growth in the important holiday quarter. Let's see here. So here's how Apple did versus LSG consensus expectations. EPS 1.46 versus 1.39, 89.5 versus 89.2, 43.81 versus 40. That was the same. Mac revenue was lower, 7.61 versus 8.63. iPad revenue was a little bit higher, 6.44 versus 6.07. Wearables were down, 9.32 versus 9.43. Service revenue up 22 versus 21, and gross margin 40.5 versus 44.5. The guidance wasn't that great either, so I think that's what's causing it. Let's see. Apple didn't give formal guidance. Well, so yeah, I think that's what's causing the rift there. And it's a long article, but yeah, I just wanted to give you the highlights. And I think it's because of the outlook that is causing the thing to tankety tank.
The outlook was known, but you know, from my perspective, if anything, I thought things would be worse, and I thought they did well.
They did well.
Expected. But hey, earnings.
It was also something with the sales that was lower than expected. And that may have caused it as well. Let me see if I can find it.
This is third quarter. So you're basically looking at the summer. I don't know why they were thinking sales would jump anyway. If they're going to make their money, maybe it's outlook, but if they're going to make their money, they will make it, I would think, for this last quarter coming up the holidays. But I think I'm just more pissed off because the stock went down after market after I bought it when I thought it should have been up.
Yeah, I think the sales were down, but as you said, because it's the third quarter, we would probably get better results for the fourth quarter. I agree with that.
I just don't see anything that was not known, how it was different. If anything, it surpassed what people thought out on the street. But hey, it is what it is. The market does what it wants to do.
You say that again.
So we have 4 minutes if you want to do another article. Since you're sharing, so we won't have to keep going back and forth and talk about something else or play something else. You're welcome to do so.
Let me see. This one. See if this one. There was an article here. Oh, it doesn't let me see it. Let me see if I can find it in the. Okay, this one. This article was in Yahoo, and Diamond Dave had put it up.
Not sure if we can hear you.
Bank out with a warning this morning saying any escalation in the fighting between Israel
you hear
and
it now?
Hamas could push oil to record high prices. This as we approach a month into the war with no ceasefire in sight. Joining us now is our very own Inez Ferre. Inez, I know there were a couple of scenarios that have been laid out here.
Yeah, that's right, Rochelle. And this is part of an outlook report that the World Bank put out about commodities and 3 risk scenarios. And you mentioned it. And these are the risk scenarios that the World Bank is looking at. One is a large disruption scenario if the conflict in the Middle East escalates. This is also on top, of course, of the war that's happening in Ukraine. And in that case, the World Bank says that the global oil supply would fall by 6 to 8 million barrels per day, and that would drive up prices to between $140 and $157 per barrel. That would be a record. In a medium risk scenario, that would be, or a medium disruption risk scenario, I should say, crude would reach $109 to $121 per barrel. And in the case of a small disruption, oil prices would increase by a range of $93 to $102 per barrel. Now, why is this important? Well, because when you see a rise in oil prices, of course, you see a rise in many other services and goods, and one of them being food inflation. And the World Bank is focused on this, the issue of food inflation and how that would impact developing countries. So it's saying if you do see this oil disruption, expect food prices to go higher and for that to impact these developing countries. Now, under the bank's baseline outlook, they are saying that crude will average $90 per barrel this quarter, and it will fall to $81 a barrel next week as the global economy slows. Right now, we're looking at WTI crude prices that are just above $82 a barrel. Brent crude's above $87 a barrel. And we have seen quite a bit of volatility since the war in the Middle East broke out, and with oil prices fluctuating, going up and down over the last several weeks. The report also is pointing out that you are seeing that the conflict has had a modest impact on commodity prices. And part of this is just because of the global world supply of oil, that now we are getting oil as opposed to, for example, in the decade of the 70s, oil is coming from different parts of the world. You also have individual countries